Paul.
Hello.
It's time for our next shitcast. We're up to the letter L.
L, not for losers. L for Lost in Space.
Yeah. Not the TV show, the movie.
The movie came out in 1998, directed by Stephen Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Stephen Hopkins, very, not controversial director, but very mixed bag of a director from people out there. The film, I remember going to the advanced screening of this, and because I was very, very into the television show when I was a young lad, and I loved it. You know, my brother used to think he was Will Robinson because they're the same age, and it was just a show that was always on when I was a kid. The black and white episodes, the color episodes. Sometimes they'd have one day it'd be black and white, and the next day it'd be color, and then it'd go back to black and white. It was always on, and I don't know if it's still on television nowadays. Probably not, but probably you have to stream it. But the TV show was very special to me. And then we saw the movie.
Yeah.
Here is a teaser trailer.
Danger, Will Robinson! Danger!
Next year, prepare for the most human adventure of all.
Give my regards to Oblivion.
Okay, so the plot follows a family, the Robinson family. Now, they are marooned in space after they have a exploration on a ship called the Jupiter 2. They go, and the weird thing is they created all this how to get to where they're lost, whereas in the TV show, they were just lost because they were explorers, but they got lost because they went through a wormhole. Now, this one, there's a hypergate, and to get from one end to the other, you know, they had to create another hypergate to get back and all that.
Yeah. And that's the reason they were on the ship in the first place. They were tasks with getting to the other end of space.
Alpha 1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To create the hypergate at that end,
So
to create interstellar travel
because
between these two places.
It has the MacGuffin that Earth, the whole governments of the Earth, they've all joined forces, and they're telling everyone, Earth's fine, it's all great, we're just doing some exploration up in space.
Yeah.
What they're not telling people is Earth is dying because they were too late to save the planet from what's going on with the global warming and all that, and they need to find another planet, quick, smart.
Yeah.
And so they rush into production, the exploration of the Jupiter 2. And the Robinsons go off, and they're going to slingshot around the sun, and a slingshot around the sun so they can actually go to Alpha 1, because it's going to propel them that with that much force that they're going to get there.
Yeah.
God, it's so convoluted. And then what they don't know is that they've got a saboteur on board, Dr. Smith. Now, Dr. Smith in the original was a medical doctor who was just out for himself. He was a prick, but, you know, he came good a few times. In this one, Dr. Smith is a saboteur. He works for the insurrectionalists or whatever they're called, and seditionists.
Yeah.
And seditionists. And they task him with destroying the Jupiter 2, and
so they can't create the hypergate.
And all that. They betray Dr. Smith, and he gets electrocuted, passes out. He wakes up on the ship 16 hours into the flight, and he knows he's actually he's programmed the robot on board to destroy the Robinsons, destroy the ship.
16 hours into the flight, conveniently.
16 hours into the flight. So he wakes up, and the robot's just going nuts. And, of course, Smith is there. he's trying to save his own skin. So he's like, oh, crap, I got to stop all this. So the Robinsons get woken up and they're heading towards the sun. And so what they do is they use the hypergate to go through the sun, sort of out the other side, and without a trajectory or without a star map, they basically become lost in space. Okay.
And the movie is about their journey to find a way home.
Back home.
Yeah.
Now, I remember...
It's not a bad premise.
It's a good premise.
Yes.
It's a bit convoluted, but it's not a bad premise. And the film has a few bright sparks, actually. There's quite a lot to love about this film. And one of them is actually, I remember, because we watched it on DVD, because I won't buy anything more than that because I didn't love it that much. I remember it looking a lot better than it did when I watched it this time.
Yeah.
I mean, back in 98, we were pretty much in the infancy of CG.
Yeah.
And it really showed.
Yeah.
It
This
really
movie
showed.
has not aged well in terms of special effects at all.
And she called it PlayStation 1 level graphics.
Yeah. Yeah. It could do with
A remaster.
a remaster and having someone go over all the special effects again.
Re-render.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the issue...
I mean, it wouldn't save the fact that the movie is...
Well, I have a lot of issues with it. I don't think there's a lot of what I call studio interference, as in, like, a lot of reshoots and things like that. I think it was edited in a way that they try to tighten it up and all that kind of stuff. Must say test audiences and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's actually beyond salvageable. And as I said, there's a lot to love. The film starts off with Guy, who what's his name? Is it Guy? Yeah, it's Guy, isn't it?
Who?
Don. Sorry, Don. Guy is the actor that played him in the original. Don. He is the pilot of the Jupiter 2. He gets he's a fighter pilot and fighting the
Played
seditionists.
by Matt LeBlanc.
Yep. And
Joey from Friends.
they know who he is.
Who is, yeah, but I say Joey from Friends because you hear Joey from Friends and you think
How you doing?
that, but you wouldn't necessarily imagine him in a leading man role in an action sci-fi adventure.
And we see it through his eyes.
Yeah.
He's our avatar in the
Yeah,
film,
but
really.
he does a really good job in this movie.
He's actually excellent in it. And like we were watching it and I was lamenting, thinking, Jesus, I wish this guy actually had more of these kind of roles.
It's a shame that he didn't because he's probably one of the best things about the movie.
Yeah, Gary Oldman's the best thing about
Yeah,
the
but
movie.
Gary Oldman's always the best thing
The
about
best
every movie.
Dracula.
You hear that? The best Dracula.
The best. Now, Stephen Hopkins, as I was mentioning before, he actually directed Predator 2 and he also directed A Nightmare on Elm Street 5. Now, English Australian director. He, I don't think he did a bad job at this. I mean, how else could you have directed this film? Like it for its time, for its budget, for the storyline, it is very much exactly how it should have gone.
Yeah, there are some lazy things about it though. Like
Very much.
the sound design is questionable.
Maybe
especially,
though it's a DVD. Maybe if we heard it on a better track, it might be better. I remember it actually being like, because I used to work at a company called West Coast Hi-Fi here in WA, and I remember this was on Laserdisc a reference, what they call a reference audio track.
Yeah.
So that means that it was touted as an exceptional track that we'd show in our showrooms.
Yeah.
So I think what we listened to, although it was a Dolby Digital soundtrack, I think the mix was completely off. And I think that if you listen to it on a better format, better sounding format, or better sound system, I think it actually would be okay.
Let's hope so, because
Not that I want to watch it again.
no, but just down to the little things like the sound of the lasers going off when pew 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 pew. It's like a 90s video game level of
Very
sound.
much. And the what was you saying? There's a part where like the Jupiter 2 goes into space and it comes out of hyperspace.
Yes.
And like we have all seen Star Wars, and in that, if something comes out of hyperspace, it's like boom, like that, and you get the sound and almost a like punch in the chest.
It should vibrate.
This is like boom. It's almost like that shit Star Wars film, The Last Jedi, where it all goes silent and everything like that. Oh, I'm such an artist.
It's like someone forgot to put the sound in for that particular moment.
Last Jedi sucks. Anyway.
Yes, it does. There were some genuinely clever things about the movie that are actually more clever when you watch it today. Like it guessed a few things that we actually have today.
Yeah, it did.
Like
social media.
Social media.
What's her name? Penny.
Penny is pretty much obsessed with social media, and she has
it's like an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Sorry, copyright pending. It's basically an Apple Watch that's got a camera in it, and she vlogs on it.
Yeah, she's essentially making TikTok videos.
Yeah. And I was sitting there going, is this now? Because but it was set in the future of 2036.
Something like that. Yeah. So not too far.
And we're not going to get there, guys. We're not going to go hyperspace travel in that time, and there is not going to be world peace in.
And they got things like Snapchat filters as well. When Maureen's having a meeting with one of Will's teachers,
played by the original Maureen.
Yes,
June Lockhart.
But the interview is via video. She's sort of in a what do you call it? A hologram.
Yeah.
But Will's sort of able to hack into their computer and able to change the filters of her. So
it's actually quite funny.
So it looks like she's
a monkey,
or she's wearing
Rambo.
like combat gear and stuff that you would find in your standard Snapchat filter. And that was really clever. And
it's very prescient.
Yeah, another thing, like the little props, the futuristic props that they created for the movie were quite clever as well. Like Penny tries to escape because it's basically their last night on Earth, so she wants to go spend it with friends.
They really should have actually had that scene.
Yeah, they should have.
They really should.
They didn't. But you do get to see her escape from her room in this little collapsible metal ladder that folds right down and you put it inside your purse, and then you open it up and sort of flick it, and it's a ladder that you can use to escape out your bedroom window. Temu, probably. You'd get off Temu now.
Yeah.
But genius idea for a futuristic prop in a 1998 movie.
It's like films like that and Minority Report and things like that really get it right. I mean, I was talking to my boy today, and we were talking about how Star Trek was ahead of its time. It was made in the 60s, and they had flip phones, which was a communicator. And I was talking about Dick Tracy, how Dick Tracy had an Apple Watch. And he said, I'll be right there.
Yeah.
And it was like, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can actually do that with my watch, not wearing it right now. And it's like he's saying, like we're actually discussing about how future tech back in those days is now present tech. And isn't it wonderful that they thought of this stuff?
Yeah.
They must have had
they got it right.
Consultants, like tech consultants. Yeah. And, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Because they created this technology, does this technology exist now? Because they thought of it then and it gave us the idea to create this technology.
It's probably a little bit of both. I know that there's some technology that, had been sort of like the idea for it had been created ages and ages and ages ago, but the technology itself didn't exist yet to make the thing they wanted to make.
Like Wi-Fi.
So you had to wait for the technology to catch up to the idea. So there's that, but then there would be the opposite as well, where you'd see ideas in movies like this and go, what if that was real?
Like Blade Runner.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
2049 is great.
So, yes, some of the ideas in the movie were kind of cool. And some of the performances were good as well. Like we said, Matt LeBlanc was very
excellent.
charming and suave and charismatic and kind of
a tough guy. He was actually like when he turns around and that you've seen the meme most likely when the helmet just goes like that. I mean, that's badass.
That was very badass, and he sort of managed to step above the clunky dialogue as well. It might be his years of TV acting and improv, capability, but he managed to work with the dialogue he had and turned it into something that was meaningful for his character. And of course, Gary Oldman as Dr. Smith.
Oh, the pain, the pain.
Obviously has studied the original character for
but he
quite
made it
some
his
time.
own,
But
though.
he did. It was completely different, but also the same.
Same,
It was
yeah.
fascinating.
He's a guy that is only out for himself.
Yeah.
And he's only out for his pure survival. Even, I mean, we don't have to get into what happens in the future of Will and Dr. Smith and all that kind of stuff, that whole thing. We don't even have to talk about that because it's not important, to his performance. Because Gary Oldman, no matter what he does, he is awesome in it. And this film he was the first actor to sign on for it. And he did this to finance his film Nil by Mouth. And man, like he was the first person on board. He wanted to do this. And you can see him hamming it up and relishing the dialogue and just really having it. Like he looked like he was having the best time of his life.
He really did. Matt LeBlanc and Heather Graham had really great chemistry as well.
Roller Girl.
I didn't expect they were going to. When I heard the casting for this movie, I thought, I don't know if that's going to work, but it really did.
And your favourite block of wood wasn't bad either, was he?
Oh,
He's
no,
dead now. We have to be nice.
He's William Hurt. I'm sorry. He is a block of wood to me in every single movie he's in.
I like William Hurt. Always liked him.
including this one.
He was great in The Big Chill. He was great as Thaddeus Ross in
See, the Big Chill's
Hulk,
probably the
The
only
Incredible
thing
Hulk.
I've seen him in that I liked his
Really?
performance. Yeah.
What about Altered States? Have you seen Altered States?
Yes, I have, and
I mean, the film's trippy.
yeah,
So it's like an A24 film before A24.
it's okay.
God, I hate that company.
There were some clever cinematography moments in the movie that wasn't.
Especially that space battle at the beginning. I thought that was
There
pretty
wasn't
good.
a lot of them, but every now and again there'd be a clever thing that happens. Oh, that's a bit outside the box. Like they had this clever transition when the family goes into cryo sleep, where they're sort of following, because there's a line of cryopods, and it sort of puts them under in stages where it kind of ties them into this cryopod.
You got your vest, then you've got your
like a little
breathing
thing that
tube.
goes over your eye and a breathing tube and everything. And it goes through the stages of that by sort of panning across. So you see the beginning of it over here, and as we go across,
That person's already
that
got it.
person's got the next thing, that person's got the next, and that person's got the next
Such
thing.
good filmmaking.
Yeah, it was a really clever little transition.
And I think that is Stephen Hopkins, because the guy, I don't know what your opinion of Predator 2 is, but it's a very strong film. It's like, I love Predator. Predator is one of the best action slasher films of all
Predator
time.
2 is quite underrated, actually.
And it's got our favourite dude, Bill Paxton. I mean, geez. You can't go wrong if Bill Paxton's in the film.
True that.
Yes. And Mimi Rogers was Maureen.
Yeah.
And she
she's-
did well. I mean, her character unfortunately didn't get much to do, and
No.
I think she was very underutilized because she's a fantastic actress.
She is, but in this movie,
She was mum.
she was very block of wood like, but then that was quite complimentary acting next to William Hurt. So,
But she did stand up for herself in a couple of bits, and she was very, very forthright.
Yeah, in a kind of mundane kind of.
Yeah, you can see that they'd
block
be
of wood
bad in
kind of
bed.
way. Yeah,
They're
Wow.
they're vanilla. How
So
did they have
vanilla.
3 kids?
I don't know,
Mm.
but they had no chemistry. Those two.
No,
It
they
was-
didn't.
oof, quite awkward.
I mean, they had as much chemistry as a block of wood.
Yeah,
But
there's some
and
odd
there's
choices
not
in
very
the movie
many
as well.
Well, sorry, there's like that's basically the cast,
Yeah.
except for Robot, which is I loved the fact that they got the guy from the TV series
Yeah.
doing the same voice.
Yeah.
That was cool. Anyway,
But
sorry.
William Hurt's character is basically a bad father to Will throughout this entire movie for actually no good reason. And the only reason he is a bad father is because it services the end of the story.
Which we can spoil. It's
Yeah,
fine.
of course. Well, it's a shit cast, so we can spoil it. But we find out that they have crash landed on.
They find this ship called Proteus.
Yeah.
In just floating into space after they've been drifting for a while, and this ship seems abandoned but old, very very old, and it's like, oh, okay, well, the technology is their technology, but it's like 50 times more advanced than what they've got now. And so they go on this ship, and it's a ghost ship, and so it reminded me so much of Event Horizon. And they go on the ship, and they see this hydroponics sort of lab set up and all that kind of stuff, and they say, well, like this kind of growth would take decades to do, and it's like, oh, okay, so this ship's been out there decades, and what they find is they go to the ship's captain's log, and the captain was actually the other fighter pilot.
Yeah, it's
of
Don's friend.
But he's an old man in this video, and this was decades ago. So they come to the realization, not only have we traveled far away from Earth, we've also time traveled. Yeah. Now that is in relation to going back to the plot threads, is Will's science affair that John, his dad, misses because he's an absent father, because he's always worried about getting the Jupiter 2 up and running. He misses it, and Will's theory when he's a kid, and he's a genius scientist, is that time travel is possible. Now this pays into the end where there's timey-wimey, spacey-wacy sort of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And Will was like, you never listen to me.
Yeah.
You know, they talk about this, like, how is this possible? And like Will's like time travel is possible. You just don't listen to me. I know what's going on. I know how to time travel and make it work. I need your help, but you never listen to me, so you're a prick. And what another thing is, they've got these little nanite sort of bots that attack the Proteus while they're on there, so they have to get off the Proteus and basically blow it up to kill these nanites, and these nanites go onto their ship and survive.
Yeah, and
somehow.
one of them scratches
Dr. Smith
and infects him.
Yep, and so they get on their ship. They basically get dragged into this atmosphere of the planet, and they crash land, and we find out that this planet is dying because there's this like earthquake sort of thing happening, but there's a big dome, and in this dome it looks like the wreckage of some sort of craft, and they send out a search party for this dome. On the biosphere, on the Proteus, they find this creature, looks like a little monkey, called they call it Blarp. It's so convoluted. You can see that this thing is put in there for the kids.
Yeah.
When people were talking down to children in movies, as opposed to you know, if that had been made,
it's the cute mascot for the movie.
If it had been made nowadays, it wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Because we don't talk down to children as much as they did in the 90s. And so, you know, Penny's like, oh, I want it as a pet, and like Judy says, you know, like every other pet you've had, which you've abandoned. And so, you know, that's her. She's an angsty teenager. God damn it. Anyway, so Smith's got the scratch on his back. He's getting infected by one of the creatures. They go into this dome. Don and John go into this dome with Smith, and all the while, Dr. Smith has been trying to sabotage them or get a gun or some sort of thing so he's in control. So they go into this dome. They come across this sort of like contraption, this big building sort of thing, and they get captured by they don't know who. They come to and they find
grown-up Will and what is left of Dr. Smith.
after the infection.
Because they've actually, by going into this dome, they've actually travelled through time again, and they've ended up in the future. And basically after years of neglect and being ignored by his father, Dr. Smith
Becomes his dad.
apparently there's an accident that kills all of his family, and Dr. Smith basically
It's the only family he's
says
got left.
it was the spiders. They came back. They killed the family. I'm the only one you've got left. I'll take care of you. And over the years, Smith has transformed into this big spider-like creature. He's, of course, lying to Will. He killed everyone. But Will isn't aware of that, and he harbours a lot of resentment for being ignored all these years. But
See, Dad? See, look what I can do, Daddy. Look what I can do.
But through that resentment, finds the resolve to create his time machine.
Out of the parts of Jupiter 2.
Yep, he was right. He could do it. And
He's going to go back in time to stop his family from actually, like, for some, like, unknown reason, he looks in the time portal sort of thing and he sees the exact shot of what we see at the beginning of the film of the actual space station that Jupiter 2 or Jupiter 1 was actually on. And it's like, geez, that's convenient, being the same shot and the same angle and everything.
It's very lazy.
Anyway.
But we find out in the climax of the movie, or Will finds out that Smith's been lying to him all along, and he wanted him to create this time machine so he could jump through the portal
and take over the world.
Take over the world with his new spider powers. And
because why wouldn't you?
And
you can't have sex, so what the freaking point is it? Maybe he's got a spider dick.
Who knows?
Spider dick, spider dick.
If he does, we don't see it.
No.
But
PG.
John realizes the error of his ways of being a bad father and what this has done to Will over the years, and
says, "I'm sorry, son.
I'm sorry," and pleads his case, and grown-up Will ends up saving his dad by pushing him through the time machine to be outside the dome and rescue the family from crashing the Jupiter 2 on their way out.
But there's one thing where the Jupiter 2 takes off and it's like can't get enough momentum, so it actually crashes and everyone dies. And then they're like, okay, that's one possibility. So then he throws his dad out to stop them from doing that.
Yeah.
And so they all take off.
So instead they
go through
the planet. And I say it in that way because that's how William Hurt says it in the movie.
We go through the planet.
Because I saw this at the cinemas in 1998, and when he said that line, I literally laughed out loud. And I do every time I've seen the movie since then. The way he delivers that line, it's like
it's a bit embarrassing.
No one wanted to do a second take on that. No, we're going to go with that. All right,
and cut. But he but Dr. Smith does get killed by. The Spider Smith gets killed in the sort of ring that the thing, so he gets discombobulated and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the
past Dr. Smith lives, doesn't he?
He's still on the
Jupiter
2, but I'm assuming they're going to do something to him now that they know he's going to turn into a big giant spider.
Originally, this film was going to be part of a trilogy.
Yeah.
Now,
because it ends with them realizing they can't go up; they have to go through the planet.
And they go through the planet, and it goes.
Yeah, and they go through the planet and then use the hyper jump gate again, so they're gonna be lost somewhere else now. And then that's
the end of the film. It actually is pretty underwhelming how that ends. but I understand.
It's kind of how a TV show pilot would end.
Well, it's like this show. I mean, they
Yeah.
never actually get back to Earth.
No.
Well, they do, but spoilers for the TV show. But this was planned as a trilogy, so you could see that like the second one would have started off exactly from the minute that they go through the planet, and Lord knows what the third one would be.
Yeah.
I really wish they'd have made the trilogy because it would have made this film make more sense. It's like back in the years gone in previous in the 90s and whatever, they would always try and sequelize or make a trilogy out of a film like a franchise because they saw how good Back to the Future did it, and they're all thinking, oh, we could make film series just like Back to the Future. But as Back to the Future originally, was to be continued, right? That wasn't how it actually originally ended. And so everyone has to have a cliffhanger ending because of what Back to the Future did. Marty, we're going to go back. And that's the sort of like the disappointing part about this film is that the fact that they were going to do a trilogy, they didn't end it properly.
Yeah. I don't think it would have helped if they actually did make the trilogy. I don't think it would have made this first movie make any more sense. Like it was the premise was so wafer thin. Like I said,
have you seen the original show?
Yeah. John was a bad father to his son throughout the entire, and has multiple opportunities throughout the movie.
Could have just fixed it like that.
Just to have a conversation with him and fix the issue by just like spending a little bit of time with his son.
Scotch.
But doesn't. And clearly for no other reason than for the rest of the movie to happen. It's just lazy.
I mean,
lazy writing.
The best characters in the film, best three characters, Dr. Smith and Judy and Don, and they actually all work. And it's because they are the three best actors in the film. I mean, Penny is nothing but an angsty teenager. Will is like
every time Lacey Shepard talks, it's like
and Will is like a forgotten son. Actually, I get his character. He's actually not too bad. That kid.
he was fine.
Yeah,
as a kid.
But the other three are just friggin' annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much else we can tell you about this film.
The writing does not help. And when
we know why.
Yes, when the credits flashed up, it said screenplay by
Akiva Goldsman. Fuck off.
And then we understood. We understood immediately why this was a bad movie.
Too much power. He has too much influence. Get him the fuck away from Hollywood.
This guy write movies.
Jesus, he's a bad writer.
His dialogue is bad.
Have you seen Batman Forever? Have you seen Batman and Robin?
Like, it's bad every time.
Jesus fucking Christ. The Dark Tower.
Just do me a favour. Wikipedia, Akiva Goldsman. Look at his filmography
and get all the Rotten Tomatoes scores, and make an average.
Yeah, I mean you will know a lot of these movies. It's made a lot of blockbusters.
Didn't he do the Da Vinci Code?
I have no idea.
I think he did. Ooh. Ron Howard, mate, get away from him. He's the death knell.
He can't. Terrible dialogue.
I mean,
no more.
You
tried. You can't do it. You've had your chance. Let someone else do it.
Yeah. He might be a nice person, but go fuck yourself.
Wow, that's a little mean.
Not really. Have you seen his movies?
It's true. Just stop, buddy. Please. Stop. Please.
So, Alicia, who would this film be made for?
This would be made for people who loved the 90s blockbuster that came out every summer in the 90s.
Like the Independence Day crowd.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Okay, the writing was always terrible. but it was bombastic, and there was a lot
Same
of
year as Armageddon.
a lot of flashing lights, and you come out of the cinema going, that was a time, must have been good.
Epilepsy.
Yeah. For people who like that kind of thing, then you'll probably like this movie.
People that don't have any interest in movies, they just want to be entertained.
Yeah, yeah. For people who think Roland Emmerich makes good films.
Oh, Independence Day is fantastic.
Independence Day is probably his best movie. It's still not great.
Can I tell you who I think it's made for?
Who?
Fans of the TV show.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I went in watching it because I'm a
Yeah.
fan of the TV
You'll
show.
certainly get a kick just out of the
Danger,
Dr.
Will
Dr.
Robinson,
Smith and
danger.
Robot and all that stuff. Yeah.
And
If you're a fan, you'll
it
enjoy
does play on all of the little idiosyncrasies of the original television show. And the great thing about it is it actually has surviving cast, except for Billy Mummy
Yeah.
and Jonathan Smith, Dr. Smith and Will Robinson, respectively. They championed for them to actually play the older versions of those characters, or still play those characters. But, yeah, of course, they got refused, and so they boycotted being in this. They were still both alive. Well, Jonathan Smith was when this film was being made, and
But yeah, he didn't want to be in the movie unless he could play Dr. Smith. Yeah.
and so you do have, like, quite a few cameos from the original.
Yeah.
But I mean, so that should bring us to trivia.
Did I put any trivia about this?
Okay, trivia. Yes, there's the original Don, the original Judy, the original Penny, and the original Maureen. They're all in the film at the very beginning of the film.
Blink and you miss at cameos, but
Yeah, but I mean,
if you know the actors, you will.
yeah. And if you don't know the actors, watch the TV show. There's a lot of deleted scenes, which we actually watched a couple of the deleted scenes, and it's got to do with Blarp growing up and being big and all that kind of stuff. It's just terrible.
Yeah, yeah.
Just friggin'
They were right to delete the scenes.
yeah, it was actually good.
Yeah.
Apollo 440 did the new version of the theme tune, and dun, 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 and probably get copyright strike for mumming that.
Yeah, probably.
But they
It was popular when it came out, but it is.
Who could listen to an instrumental and make it go number one? Hold on, St. Elmo's Fire, but yeah, it's terrible.
It is it is like a lot of 90s movies that where they redid original music. It's aged terribly.
It's like we just watched Axel F. Go watch the video that we made last week. If you haven't, if you want to watch it, no, just go and watch it. They remade the song Axel F., which did go number one, and they did it so well. It was the original song, but it had stuff added to it that didn't detract from the original. This, I sat there thinking, is this the original theme? Is this how it went?
It's like
Like the trailers they use nowadays with those songs that they slow down slow piano versions of Sweet Child of Mine, and it's in the trailer.
Do you all remember the X-Files movie that came out in the 90s? And the song that came with that?
What song was that?
X-Files. Like it's very much like this. It's
Open your mind.
like that, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
shit.
remember the X-Files. It's my favorite TV show. Of course,
Yeah.
I remember it. They do it because they can, and it's like the soup du jour, the flavor
Yeah.
of the day, and it's just. I'm glad that
It's loud and
it's over.
bombastic, and at the time, everyone listened to it and went,
That's cool, man.
"That's cool. That's
I can put that in my
that's
stereo in
fresh.
my car
That's exciting."
because I've got a subwoofer and an amplifier, and it sounds mint, mate.
No,
No, it doesn't.
it's bad.
It's bad. Okay, so any other trivia?
Not that I have. No.
No.
Should we move on? Should we move on to some awards?
Yes.
Yes. What is the best line in the movie?
That I did write this down.
Mm.
Where's my book? Talk about yourself. There you go.
Okay. Well,
Best line. Give my regards to Oblivion.
who said that?
Dr. Smith. Give my regards to Oblivion.
Yes.
My regards to Oblivion.
My favourite line was also a Dr. Smith line. It was, "Trust me, Major. Evil knows evil."
Yes.
Evil knows evil.
Yeah, that was a pretty good line.
He hams it up, but he does
Oh,
it
yeah.
so friggin' well.
Yeah.
It's Gary Oldman, the best Dracula.
What is the worst line?
Anything out of Penny's mouth.
My worst line we mentioned earlier, it is William Hurt going, "We'll use the planet's gravity." We'll just play that on a loop for you now. Just get it in your heads.
Through the planet as she's breaking up. Through the planet as she's breaking up. Through the planet as she's breaking up. Through the planet as she's breaking up.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Worst effects.
Worst effects.
Yeah.
I think Blarp.
Blarp. Oh, boy.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, in the special features, you can see the deleted scenes, and you can actually see Matt LeBlanc with, like, what looks like a puppet sort of thing, an articulated puppet, and it's sort of like, damn, I feel
think
bad
it's-
for
I
these
think
actors had to do
It's
this.
actually like a guy holding a puppet, like a articulated puppet up, and he's holding that in his arms, and then they...
It's embarrassing to watch.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him. I mean, he's the best thing in the film.
Yeah, but you can
Well,
see
Gary
they're
Oldman,
they're
yeah.
looking at nothing. It's pretty obvious.
Then
And-
again, it's not as bad as those friggin' Star Wars films where there's no real sets. There's just blue
Yes.
screens.
that is true.
It is
There are
better.
some.
Because they
Sets,
were practical sets, and
Yeah.
they actually, like, the Proteus was a friggin'
It
lovely
was,
set.
yeah. It was a very good set. Blarp, on the other hand, was
Just awful.
very poorly rendered. What was the worst editing?
Worst editing. There was a weird fade out. I can't remember where it was in the film. Just like that movie Tonight that we watched.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was like that. It was a weird fade out.
mine was their frequent use of green screen backgrounds, and then going, like, the actors would be like in front of the green screen, and then they'd be on an actual set. It's like the same scene, but you go back and forth constantly between the actors being on an actual set and then being in front of a screen, depending where on the shot
A green
you were.
screen of the actual set.
Yeah,
Okay, so they probably had to do that in post because they needed to shoot a couple of things.
yeah,
and they
but
only had the
it's
background.
really, really obvious that the back and forth between what's real and what's not is quite jarring.
Yeah, actually, I do know my worst line
Yeah.
was when Don's pilot mate goes, "Wah!" It's just embarrassing.
Yeah. What was the most over the top moment?
Penny. She's so angsty. When she just storms off at one point when she's on the ship.
Yeah, she's pretty bad. I had mine as Gary Oldman, Dr. Smith rather, talking to Will going, "What if they're hurt? Dying."
And even if you found them, what if they hurt? Ravaged?
No, I thought that was fucking awesome.
He was awesome.
'Cause
Like, don't
he's
get me
just
wrong.
So hamming it up. I love
He
it.
was awesome, but it was over the top.
Oh, yeah.
He was
What if they're
probably
Dying.
one of the few examples of me picking an over the top performance that I actually thought was good as opposed to one that was bad. I thought it was great.
Oh, he's-
He's so hammy.
I love Gary Oldman in this film. I
Yeah.
think him and Matt LeBlanc and Heather Graham really do their level best.
Yeah.
I mean, Heather Graham was still in that roller girl phase of her career.
Yeah.
Where to me she could do no wrong. And I mean, had a crush on her since License to Drive in '88. So this is like 10 years later, and she's still rocking it.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt LeBlanc, Friends is one of my favorite shows of all time. So, and
their back and forth was delightful.
it was, and you can have this on credit. But then there's Gary Oldman, who just of his generation, because it's like it's he's in the middle generation of actors. He's not the Nicholson era. He's not the modern era. He's like, I think he's literally the best actor of that generation. Daniel Day-Lewis, whatever. My left foot hurts all the time. Whatever. Gary Oldman is the shit. He is.
I'd have to agree. Yeah.
He is the best Dracula. What the fuck is a Drexel? If True Romance is one of the, he steals the entire movie. Him and Christopher Walken in that movie. True Romance. Go watch True Romance if you haven't seen it. It's phenomenal. Like any film that man is in, he makes the film better. He is the best Jim Gordon.
Yes.
Best Commissioner Gordon. I don't like the Nolan films as much as regular people. I think they're the lesser of the Batman films that have come in the last. I mean, except for Forever and Batman Robin, Akiva Goldsman. But his Jim Gordon is the bar.
Yes.
I mean, they can put J.K. Simmons in it. That's good. He's J. Jonah Jameson. He's not Jim Gordon. Gary Oldman is Jim Gordon. If they had Gary Oldman as Jim Gordon in a TV series, I'd watch the shit out of that. Just like they've done The Penguin. If they actually had done that, would it be?
Yeah, he could hold an entire show.
He does. He's got a show on Apple TV.
Anyway, this movie, what are we going to give out of 10?
I don't know. I don't hate it as much as you do, but it is not a great movie. I think Stephen Hopkins did a great job of what he had. The effects don't stand up. So that, if it was me in 98, I would have given it an 8 out of 10.
Cool.
I loved it when I first saw it.
What would you give it now?
Now I'd give it a 5.
I give it a 4. Yeah, I don't think it's worth the halfway mark.
Look, if with a few tweaks,
If the special effects were better, then you'd probably give it a 5. But
I mean, they're never going to redo this. I mean, they did a new TV show a few years ago. I don't know where it's streaming. I think it might be Apple TV. I'm not too sure. But, I mean, I hate to say it, but it was forgettable for me because I can't even remember anything about it. I know Parker Posey played Dr. Smith in it. Now she's going to want to watch it.
I've seen it.
Oh, have you seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
It was actually pretty good.
But I can't remember it because I loved the original TV show so much, and I really loved this when it was first out. That the new one has no staying power for me. I'd love to see them make another film,
Yeah.
like another version of it, where they already are lost in space. It's like Friday the 13th. It's not rocket science. You put Jason in the woods killing teens. That's all we want. We don't want this prequel A24 crap Crystal Lake series. We don't want that, guys. We just want Jason killing teens in the woods.
Just keep it simple.
Keep it simple, stupid. The KISS principle. Lost in space. They're lost in space. You don't need to tell anyone how they got there. You can do that with, exploration of the characters. You can get it from dialogue. You can get it from having television explanation, whatever you call it, newsploitation.
Yes.
You can
Newsposition.
Newsposition. You can do anything like that. You don't have to spoon feed everything. Trust your audience, just like Bill Hader does.
And with that, we shall say goodnight.
Stay hydrated.
And remember, leggings are not pants.
Not even in space. They might help though.
No.
They would. Under the spacesuit. Sorry.